Hello everyone. Welcome to today's session on Aesthetic Education Track. And here we have Clare Murray, who is the co-founder and executive director. And she will be presenting today. Welcome.
Thank you very, very much, Zora. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen? Beautiful. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Clare Murray, and I'm a doctoral candidate at Teachers College, Columbia University, studying child-centric museum design and education work. I'm also a co-founder and executive director of a nonprofit art museum bus for kids that is the catalyst for my presentation today. As you know from my white paper, and as you'll come to learn over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I'm really interested in the role of the language of art in our lives, how the arts help us make meaning. Over the past year, I've been engaged in an exploratory research study looking at the power of the language of art as it relates to learning about one another and, of course, ourselves. This presentation today, it's considering some emergent findings and ideas for continued research and inquiry. Given this year's focus on innovative educational practices toward human and planetary flourishing, it's relevant more than ever to talk about how we can bolster our capacity as educators and students to learn about one another. I acknowledge you're taking part in this session today because of your shared alignment and interest in aesthetic education. I've pulled a quote from our work in gathering today and over the next few days about the role of aesthetic education, and just to ground my presentation in a sentiment and an opportunity of leveraging the arts in and out of our classroom. I feel it's important to read this quote out. So here it is. Aesthetic education is about understanding the world and our place in it through the lens of beauty, creativity, and cultural expression. It emphasizes the importance of sensory experiences in learning, allowing students to engage deeply with content through visual, auditory, tactile, and other sensory modalities. This approach recognizes that learning is a holistic experience where cognitive, emotional, and sensory processes are intertwined. By engaging with art, music, dance, literature, and other forms of cultural expression, students develop a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. So traditionally, when we read or think about the role of arts in education, there's this metaphor of the sideline, the margin, and those metaphors may feel resonant. Far too often, under the domain of a rhetoric of effects and a focus on reading, writing, arithmetic, and of course test scores, the arts are in fact sidelined and marginalized. Here are some examples. Now, bringing this in another way, though, Maxine Green, known to many, including myself, as the mother of aesthetic education, reminds us that we can, however, think otherwise. In fact, there may be a power in being the sidelines. Here's her quote, right? Imagination is the capacity to think of things as if they could be otherwise. However underestimated, the arts and aesthetic education equip our students with the skills, dispositions, and lessons that have implications far and away from just simple test scores. The arts and aesthetic education help our students nurture their critical and creative thinking, their collaboration, their empathy, and their global awareness. Surely, fitting powerful arts and aesthetic educational experiences into the traditional school day can prove difficult. And perhaps that is why we need to work from the sidelines and let our innovation run wild. My presentation today focuses on leaning into the power of the sideline and leveraging the arts for learning about one another. You'll see that my unique setting and exploratory case study site is quite well, dare I say, untraditional, right? Here's a photo of the outside of our bus with some of our art making activity going on. Hearing it from Maxine Green, this kind of innovation is surely grounded in extant literature. I'm going to read out her words from a snippet in this lecture. Uh, or I'm gonna share screen now separately to show a quick video actually. Let's see. So here she begins. I want to suggest that works of art have a potential for evoking an intimation of a better order of things. I mean, of course, the consciousness of possibility. You all know, however, that works of art do not spontaneously give rise to such a potential, that it only exists as a potential if there is a consciousness ready to respond to it. What we do here, by means of what we call aesthetic education, is to empower persons, alone or in a community, to know enough to notice what is there to be noticed when participating imaginatively in crab slash. Tell me the same applies to the dances of the urban bushwomen, or the odd shifts and rearrangements of Cunningham's scramble. And so Maxine continues. Now to bring us back. Huh. We see sprinklings of articles and studies looking at how the arts and aesthetic education hold potential to unlock better worlds and opportunities for human and planetary flourishing. As a sampling, we see articles like Howard's 2001 focused on advocating for domestic investment in the arts, given how international and global the arts and cultural participation is. We also see Gentina and Patty's exploring how interdisciplinary art participation is, or educational participation can help enhance global citizenship in higher education, teacher training format, and Hara testing different forms of art making aimed at global citizenship education with youth. What we don't see are the reports of the minutiae it takes in practice with young children to learn about one another and thereby stimulate the foundations of global citizenship. From my vantage point, as an early childhood art and museum education scholar and practitioner, focusing on our students' most formative years up and through age 8 is and in of itself transformative. Today, I'm excited to bring you along a research practice journey from my own experience that picks up where this literature leaves off and explores how young children can make larger than life meaning that connects them with one another and the world through dedicated art and museum enrichment and engagements. So let me begin by explaining the bounds of this exploratory study. Growing out of opportunities presented by a unique community-developed exhibition of student art inside my nonprofit art museum bus last year, I've been curious to know, what are the stories students tell about using art as a language for learning about one another? You see, just about 2 years ago, a fellow nonprofit approached my nonprofit about collaborating on a student generated exhibition aboard our art museum bus focused on cross cultural exchange between deaf students. Given our model of presenting student generated juried student art exhibitions for younger students every year, this partnership felt resonant, and we proceeded excitedly. Connecting with deaf students in our state was not only important but crucial to our mission by prioritizing students who might not otherwise have access to the myriad benefits of art and museum-based learning. Moreover, bringing in cross-cultural discussions felt appropriate for our school partners who had been expressing an interest in even higher order thinking with their young students. With much time, iteration, and thought, we wound up spearheading a landmark exhibition of diverse student art from Connecticut and Kenya, namely from two deaf schools who had forged a relationship thanks to our partner nonprofit. This exhibition was titled, quote, The Power of Art as Language, and here is a glimpse inside. You start to see a little bit of the bounds, though, to begin. Naturally, as part of our model, we introduce young children, ages 3 to 8, to our annual juried art exhibitions and build their comfort and familiarity in our museum bus space by visiting multiple times with the same exhibition each school year. We scaffold our hour-long lessons for each class at each of our partner elementary and preschools, pulling from promising practices across early childhood and museum education. We activate our own CARDI curriculum, which ensures every lesson has time for exploration, discussion, and creation, facilitated by educators trained in nurturing critical and creative thinking through open-ended discussions, explorations, and of course, creation activities. One of the most defining features and foci of our work involves weaving the arts into every discussion, exploration, and creation activity. We recognize students learn in diverse ways. They sometimes need highly sensory or tactile engagements to make meaning, and other times they need quiet time to think and then play. The ways in which we integrate the arts have always been exciting for me. They keep my job interesting, and they also keep us constantly collecting valuable sources of data for study. Oh, sorry. Oh. So, with my question in mind regarding last year's exhibition, what are the stories students tell about using art as a language for learning about one another? I realized it would be invaluable to study our students' aesthetic experiences over the course of the year and beyond. Given this research falling within the bounds of my job, I knew it would be difficult to schedule time for in depth interviews with our students. I also knew it would be difficult to test any kind of hypothesis I might make in a statistically significant way. Rather, I knew I could study our students' experiences making meaning through their art engagements, as well as my own reflections along the way. I secondarily knew I would be able to observe students' perceptions of their art in later months given our ongoing partnerships with their schools. A form of qualitative research using narrative inquiry felt most fitting for deeply exploring and understanding students' experiences and stories of using art as a language for learning about one another. In an exploratory way, I've been able to acknowledge my own bias and perspective while uncovering themes related to my research question. You see here the research design I set for myself, separated by phases. Given our model, progressing from introducing students to the exhibition, scaffolding, and building upon their interests, we wound up devising a culminating project for the end of the year, whereby students at schools across our state, where we provide art museum enrichment with our art museum bus, would collaborate on school-wide murals inside their school buildings that would document lessons learned from the exhibition. In my research design, I leveraged the mural making and mural viewing as opportunities to collect stories from students about their making sense of how art helps us learn about one another. During mural making, we aimed to get students engrossed in the creative process. We supported them through our unique caring approach to early art museum education to be confident about their capacity for making sense of their own lessons learned. During mural viewing, months after their mural was completed, we observed students feeling proud of their participation in their school's mural and predisposed to speak and reflect. While this mural making and mural viewing happened at more than 17 elementary and preschools across the state, I've chosen to focus on just one site for the time being to fully explore and understand student stories about using art as a language for learning about one another. This one school is located in New Haven, Connecticut, which is the most racially diverse city in our state. Students in the New Haven public schools come from all different socioeconomic backgrounds and they have a variety of home cultures. The one school presents a representative sample. So again, these are the two ends of that research design, the mural making and the mural viewing. Here's our setting. There's the bus pulled right up in front of this school, and some of our students celebrating that. That's a photo from a mid-year visit, one of the visits we scaffold upon leading toward the mural making. So, following data collection during phase 1 and 2, I compiled photo documentation of the students' contributions to their culminating mural, as well as student quotes when asked about the lessons learned regarding art being a language. I also recorded diary entry reflections of my own about student stories. Upon reading and rereading my diary entries, student quotes, and photo documentation, I was able to identify 3 overarching key themes and patterns. Students believe art can help others. Students associate art with our earth, and students appreciate that art lets them just be who they are. Across diary entries, student quotes, and photo documentation, I noticed students drawn to talking about how art can change how people feel, particularly from sad to happy. Tied to this, I noticed students calling out particular populations, like those in hospitals and those who are deaf, as audiences who may enjoy art. I suspect these populations were called out because students had learned about deafness with us over the course of the year, given the exhibition's premise, and perhaps they had talked about hospitals at home or in school. Similarly, across diary entries, student quotes, and photo documentation, I also noticed students kept associating art with our earth. Granted, the template for their mural had to do with the earth based on conversations with students over the course of the year, trying to make sense of how deaf students in Kenya and Connecticut were connecting through their art. Still, students were proud to talk about how connected art is to our world and our earth even months later, looking at the mural as they passed it in the halls. Finally, across diary entries, student quotes, and photo documentation, I noticed students appreciated that art lets them be who they are. When painting, especially, and talking about how art helps them learn about one another, they felt free to express the joy of expressing themselves. They said art could be anything. They also wanted to reaffirm they could be anything, especially just being them. Of course, this is a simple exploratory study. There's so much more to study when it comes to leveraging the arts for learning about one another. What happened outside of our time with these students is beyond the scope of this study, and it's surely influenced by that it has surely influenced student stories. It would be interesting to follow these students over the next few years and continue to stir up conversations about their experiences with mural making and viewing. It would also be interesting to think about how we might go further curricular inspiration for these students and others when it comes to learning about one another. Ideally, this presentation stirs ideas in you. And ideally, it also holds me accountable to continue exploring student stories too. I encourage you to learn more about my work through Cardi at www.cardi.org, and I look forward to your thoughts, questions, and ideas. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone in the audience. Now would be a wonderful time to chat if curricular ideas were sparked in you. And I'm happy to roll back and to zoom into some of the photos from the students' murals from the exhibition. I apologize for my sniffles. I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold here.
Thank you so much, Claire, for a wonderful session. That was amazing.
You
I hope I don't think there are any questions. All right. Yes, it definitely was amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. We hope that you will be joining the other sessions as well.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you very, very much for facilitating all of this.
Of course, amazing. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, equally.